online community, the WordPress Dojo. And he's a website developer who takes pride in empowering people to set up and maintain their own websites or start their own career in web design. Anthony is a native New Yorker, and he will be doing his second speech, which is titled
Organization.
Channel WBTU, Becoming an Internet Content Provider. So let's welcome up Anthony.
Madam Toastmaster, members and guests. The purpose of my talk today is to convince you that you, yes you, can become a content provider on the internet. And the first thing I'll say is what I do not expect you to be, and that is a blogger. A blogger is the common man on the street shouting his opinion. It's the static of the internet. It's the 57 channels with nothing on. And they are the very antithesis of the trenchant content provider. A content provider is someone who provides information that has value. It is something that contributes to the overall knowledge base of what we call the interwebs. It's information instead of opinion. And for every piece of content that you have in you, there is a target audience, someone who wants to know what it is that you have inside of you, or someone that might need to know what it is that you have inside of you. There's a joke that I think Mark Twain is attributed to, where he said, everyone has a good book inside of them, and that's exactly where it belongs. Though there may be some truth to that, everybody has quality content inside of them. And then there's a story that I love that illustrates that. It's a sad story, but it illustrates the meaning behind my maxim. Many years ago, an Italian recluse was found dead in his apartment. And after he died, all of his friends were going through his belongings, and they had found that he had accumulated 246 violins in his attic. And they found that he had spent all of his money on all of these expensive violins. Some even more valuable ones were found in his bureau in his bedroom. Virtually all his money was spent on these instruments that would produce beautiful sounds, but nobody had the opportunity to hear them because of his misdirected love for the instrument. Now, all of us have music inside of us that needs to be played, and wouldn't be ashamed to keep that music inside of us and not give it to the world. In a sense, it could very well be an obligation when certainly folks like ourselves have a message of the gospel that certainly has to be sung and proclaimed around the world. It's even reported that the first violin that the great Stradivarius had built wasn't played until it was 147 years old. May we not wait that long to give others the message that we have that they so desperately need. Now, I believe that everyone is superior to everyone else in something. Everyone has some skill, talent, knowledge, or quality that can benefit the folks around them. And some say experience is the best teacher. I'll borrow a phrase from our friends across the pond and say bollocks. I think that I'd rather learn from other people's experience than mine. I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes than mine. And in this busy world, I don't have the time to learn from my own mistakes. I would rather learn from the experience of others and do it right the first time, do it well the first time, and not have to go through various iterations of attempt and failure, where at the end, I might just give up, or I might settle for a substandard result without utilizing other people's knowledge. So, what can you contribute to the global knowledge base of the interwebs? I'll give you two personal examples that benefited me. One is that my wife and I had homeschooled our oldest nephew for a time. He was flunking out of school, and we felt he needed one-on-one training, one-on-one teaching. And we had no idea how to start a homeschool, where you buy curriculum, what type of curriculum there is, what type of schedule there is. And so we found several homeschooling mothers who had already gone through this process. And one of the blogs was something like a timeline of all of her travails. So we could see what didn't work, what did work, and we could narrow our focus down to effective activities. Another one of the websites that was providing information was after the fact. So all the information she had was correct and relevant and streamlined. So whether we don't have the expertise in something should not prevent us from providing that quality content, because people can see your travel through this, your growth process in this. You don't have to have all the answers in the beginning. You just have to get started, and someone will benefit from that information. Another experience of mine is I'm an amateur woodworker, and I took it upon myself to get past the square corners of cabinets and bookshelves and build a wooden clock, something of a magnitude larger than I'd ever attempted, something with rounded corners, something that involves staining, something that involves multiple species of wood and not just a trip to Lowe's. So what did I do? I found 4 or 5 people on the internet who had already done this. They have videos, diagrams, drawings, tell me what kind of stain to use, what kind of wood to use, what kind of wood not to use in certain cases, so your weights don't go crashing down after your gear loses a tooth. And very efficiently, I am on my way to building this block. So what information might you have that can benefit others? It might be how to self-publish a book. It might be how to deal with the bullying system that goes on in today's society. It might be how to start your own nonprofit. It might be how to raise godly children in a modest one-income family in a world that worships the materialism of the prepubescent, attention-deprived shopaholic.
Oh, yeah.
How many parents would love to pay for information that can help their family out in that situation? Finally, by writing about the things that I do, by generating content, it adds another layer of kinesthetic knowledge absorption, where knowledge undergoes a cognitive fermentation, where knowledge then becomes wisdom. And I can start building on that layer by layer as I embody it, not only in my mind and my body, but in my writing. And finally, depending on the content you're generating, there might be a value for future generations. I have a friend whose son moved overseas with his children, and rather than not see his grandchildren for the next 4 years, they're blogging about it. They're developing content that not only the grandchildren get to interact with the grandparents, and the grandparents get to interact with the grandchildren. They're creating a knowledge base of their entire childhood that can not just benefit them and reflect on their own childhood, it can go on for generations, and they can show their own children and grandchildren the life they lived in their early cognitive years. So what will you have to contribute? What do you have of value that can help drown out the noise of the static of the internet? And this is your homework assignment for your week, and possibly for the rest of your life. I'm a Toastmaster.